But now I don't see those cobbles and curbs. I don't hear the blues anymore.
Rough Trade is giving away a third of the first 3 months of the Rough Trade Club plus new music membership exclusively to 101 Part-Time Jobs listeners. Become a member of Rough Trade Club New Music and you'll receive the Rough Trade Album of the Month straight to your door every month on exclusive vinyl pressing with exclusive bonus material. Club members have received exclusive pressings of albums from Sufjan Stevens, Sprints, The Last Dinner Party, Julie Byrne and Over Mono, just to name a few, this past year alone. Sign up using the promo code CLUB101POD and you'll get the Rough Trade Album of the Month, English Teacher's excellent debut album, This Could Be Texas, on exclusive Galaxy Gold for a third of the usual price. Here's English Teacher on a recent episode of 101.
How many opportunities do you get to write a debut album and have all of this, sport behind us? I don't know, I really like the idea of holding the bar as being like classic songs.
You only get one shot at a debut.
Don't want the album of the month but still want all the benefits? Sign up to the standard tier using Club 101 Pod and you'll still get the first month free. You'll also get free shipping on all orders, 10% off the bar and on secondhand vinyl in store, and exclusive access to sold out Rough Trade events. So don't hang around. Go to roughtrade.com/club and sign up with the code CLUB101POD. That's CLUB101POD and claim money off the album of the month, English Teachers This Could Be Texas, today. This offer's available to UK residents only. Do you play in bands? I did for the longest time. And I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hey, how's it going? You're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs. It's a podcast with me. My name is Giles Bidder, and I speak to bands about being bands, really. It can be an ugly business. It can be pretty, it's the scrap of the trade. That's the stuff I'm interested in. I want to hear those stories of making it work in your own way, making it work within your own rules, and a bunch of the part-time side hustles you got to do to make that work. So that's what I'm doing here. And on today's episode, I've got Teenage Wrist, who just released a new record called Still Love. It kind of, for me, comes between some 90s Seattle stuff and something a bit more. It sounds like they've had a lot of fun with guitar tones and finding different grooves and making it themselves. I think it sounds like a really personal record, Still Love does. And there's even a track where they collaborate with David Marion from The Fear Before the March of Flames, which is a great throwback to any of you mid-noughties emo kids. I'm putting my hand up right now. This record is great. They're on tour right now with Spiritual Cramp, and in December they're coming to the UK and Europe. That starts on the 3rd of December. They're hitting Paris, Cologne, Hamburg, Copenhagen, Malmo, Prague, Prague, Berlin and Antwerp before coming to the UK and playing in London on the 13th of December, Manchester, Nottingham, Glasgow, and then Bristol. So you got your chance to see Teenage Wrist live this December. Go bag your tickets. Thanks so much for listening to this show. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're able to leave a rating, whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify, maybe a review if you've got a few moments. And if you can subscribe, well, that's just the jackpot, innit? If you can subscribe on Apple or Spotify, that'd be absolutely amazing. So thank you if you're able to do that. Got loads of great recent episodes like Power Plant, Angel Dust, Military Gun. Coming up, we got Slaughter Beach Dog and Mickey Blanco next week. Citizens, not too far away. The Menzingers, another Epitaph band. Loads of great bands coming through the 101 Part-Time Jobs doors. Join us by subscribing. It's free. No downsides. Before we get into this episode, I'm going to speak with Rebecca from the band Eka, who is a brand ambassador for Ampolo, which is a free app. You can download it now. If you want to practice along with an existing song, you say you want to play bass to Rage Against the Machine, but you want to play along with it, you can take the bass out and practice along just like that. I think Rage Against the Machine is my... Bomb Track was the first song I learned to play on bass. That first song you learn, it stays with you, doesn't it?
I remember mine, which was Just Like a Prayer on saxophone. But yeah, I mean, I used to play that for hours, like trying to get it right alongside the CD player.
You sat there trying to rewind, get it to the right point.
Playing along kind of with the vocal. It's great for kind of doing covers and just learning the songs, basically.
And that's on Ampolo. It's free. Anyone can download it now on the App Store. You can record yourself so you can see how you're looking when you play it. Make sure your tongue's not sticking out when you're trying to play some riffs. Happy practicing. All right, it's Teenage Wrist time on 101 Part-Time Jobs. So you guys have been going enough years to make me think you've got some kind of balance. Does it feel like that? Have you got this kind of balance? Yeah, but also that kind of, like, we know what we're doing and we can structure our days, our weeks, our months and years. Do you feel comfortable in all that stuff?
No, absolutely not. There's no comfort. There's no longevity, locked in. There's it could all end tomorrow. And I think that's what's so urgent about it, for lack of a better word. It kind of continues to push us forward because we don't have that thing yet. It's still very much a passion project. We don't make any money doing this thing. We're still trying to get it to that point, where we can go on tour and not come home completely empty-handed. There's been a couple of times where we made a little money, but nothing to even come close to sustaining your life. So that said, we do know. I mean, we know how to conduct ourselves when we go to a show or when we go on tour. We are, I guess, professionals in quotes, and we've done this for, we've been touring for a long time outside of Teenage Wrist as well, because we do a lot of, session work and stuff like that for other people. So it's, I personally feel secure in that, music in general as a career trajectory. But yeah, this particular thing that, people are starting to recognize us for, not necessarily. It's still kind of a crapshoot.
From what I know, and done quite a few hundred episodes of these, and speaking to people who are, headlining festivals at times, it seems to be like a lot of people are in a very similar position to what you just, described.
Yeah, most people I know, I think, at this level, I have a few friends who have co-written some, number one songs and platinum producers and such, and they're cool. They're locked in to the legacy. But everyone kind of in our scene, same exact spot. Everyone's got their 3 side hustles and they work most of the year so they can go on tour for some of the year. Yeah, or to just try and rack up enough money to make sure we're not exhausting our bank accounts when we're out there touring.
It makes me think of a few things, and I get that first thing is that like it's not for everyone, that lifestyle, right? It's almost in a way a bit like working on an oil rig out at sea. If you have a partner who's cool with that and like the relationship works and like you've got a pet and like you can work that out, that what you get from being on the oil rig, you get paid a lot of money doing that. As a musician, you're able to, like it's expression, right? It's self-expression that's going to like stimulate you in a way that nothing else in the world does. So I suppose it comes down to the individual, right? And whether it like makes sense for you to weigh up that lifestyle against each other.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I don't recall ever actually thinking about it. There's only been a few times where.
Sorry, here I am, like asking you to like, like think about it.
You know what I mean? Though? Like, sometimes you do something and you find yourself in a position and you don't really know how you got there. It's just like the thing that you do. I've just been doing this for as long as I can remember. And this was the thing that I knew how to do and the thing that I was good at, relatively.
Yeah. And I suppose you never want to question the magic as well, right? Like a moment is a moment because you're letting it be.
Right. And like, don't get me wrong. There's been plenty of times where I've been like, is this, really, is this what I'm going to do? Is this going to, sustain me and my, potential family or whatever for the rest of my life? And thought about quitting several times, like for real, and have a mini identity crisis about it nearly every day. But I have kind of settled into this spot too, where it's like I was saying before, it might all just end tomorrow. So kind of to hold on to it, even if it's just, I don't know, slipping away.
But similarly to what you said before, is there's that excitement of any kind of alternative, like heavy or kind of music that like makes you sit up a little bit on the edge of your seat. That is almost like how you describe a record that makes you feel it is. There are those classic records, like Nirvana is a classic one where it's, you might listen to Bleach, and Bleach does feel like it feels like the wheels are going to fall off at any moment. And that is so key to why it sounds so ripping and so rad.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if it's not like a financial crisis kind of feeling, because like some bands, they make it in a few records and they get a big budget going and it kind of loses the magic a little bit. But some bands I think are able to, still feel that sense of, my mind keeps going to that word urgency and I hate it. You know what I mean? that like precarious situation where, they know that it still might just like, evaporate.
And you're touring with some great bands. I'm a big fan of Spiritual Cramp. They've got a great feeling about them. I mean, now's quite a cool time for, call it punk, call it alternative, call it whatever you want. It's a good time for interesting music that's like quite invitational. It's a bit of a party.
It is. Yeah. I'm for the first time in a long time, actually, I'm like very excited about where, rock and punk in general is moving. Like, I mean, I still can't look to any of like the bands that are popping off on radio or whatever, but that seems to matter less and less. And maybe it's in my own world, but like, I'm just consistently discovering so much cool new shit. And I'm like, man, I really, really would love to tour with these guys or take them on tour or, it's just something happened maybe it was during the pandemic or like it's so many people just started to like, I don't know, lose their their compass or their inhibition, something like that. Like, I don't know. Have you heard, like the band MS Paint comes to mind?
Yeah. I know of them through Military Gun.
Yeah. Military Gun's another one. It's, just people kind of letting the reins go a little bit.
And it's cool because there's like, where there is that now, and those bands have albums, and you can read a long feature on them on Pitchfork or Stereogum or wherever. Like, those are bands you can trace back. A lot of the time, these are bands you can trace back to 15 years ago. I mean, in London, bands like High Vis or Chubby and the Gang, those are people who have been in bands since we were 15. And you'd be like, and you'd recognize someone in a photo, be like, oh, I saw that band like 15 years ago. And what that makes me think, like, far from being a kind of name dropper kind of element to it, it's like, these are people who have somehow in the last 15 years, more or less, been able to prioritize music. And no matter what you're doing, no matter what your life is like, still get to the practice room, still play shows, still like record EPs and go on tour along the way. That's something I find really special, and that's infectious. There's a lot of people out there who are big music fans who are also playing music. It doesn't matter whether your band is popular or not. Like, that's a special thing, period.
Yeah. I mean, High Vis is a great example of what we've been talking about too, because it's good to know that about them. I don't really know about the history of High Vis at all.
Yeah, you got to listen to Dirty Money.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's Graham's old band, the singer's old hardcore band. Listen to Dirty Money today, and you're gonna. Okay,
cool. Yeah, I just discovered them. Like, we asked them to go on tour with us this year, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know, like, we all got jobs and stuff. I don't know if we can make it happen. We can only go to the U.S. one time," or which was a bummer. But that really hit me. I was like, man, here's a band that's just like really getting some attention, and everyone loves that record, ourselves included. And I'm sure everyone's asking them on tour, but they're still like, well, I don't know if we can break away from the day job kind of thing.
Yeah. It feels like that kind of, like, I grew up with punk, so that's what I'm always kind of going to trace my love of music back to punk in a weird way of, DIY, sure, but also like scrapping together what you have to make something. I find that really interesting, the way that like now is a way, because of the way that socials is, and the way that record labels don't really operate in that traditional way anymore, where they can give bands maybe 5 years and be able to give them a wage for that 5 years. It means that you're out here on your own, but there's a strength to that because you can take risks and you try out different things. Does that make sense for you? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. And I mean, honestly, like, we've been lucky enough to kind of have, have our cake and eat it too, I guess, because while we don't make any money, Epitaph has been really, really cool about like giving us what we need to sort of develop and survive and make records. And, sometimes they'll, like, in the early days, we took a lot of tour support from them. And, even still, we're going to like probably try to, lean on them to get over to the UK and Europe and stuff. But at the same time, they don't like get super involved in our creative process, and they just kind of help us like realize our vision and kind of do whatever the fuck we want. Yeah.
I mean, that also makes me think that growing up, you saw it in like rap and hip hop a lot more of like, someone like Kanye, for example, where they just had such a clear vision. They had such a clear vision of what they wanted to do, that they were the kind of creative director. I feel like that's kind of coming into like rock more because of those circumstances, because you've got to be the lead. You've got to be the ideas person.
Yeah. And like you said, there's a freedom in that for sure. And it tends to turn out cooler things that aren't so like, you can tell when something's been developed, when something isn't necessarily reflective of like a singular person's vision, or it's been curated or whatever. I don't really see that too much anymore, especially in rock. or, I mean, it's never really been in the punk scene, but I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think for a lot of bands, it's like growing in public. I imagine that can be quite painful sometimes, not playing your best show, but of course you got to have to start from somewhere, and you are kind of growing in front of people. Have you kind of experienced that kind of pain, or that kind of like, we're out here doing our thing. We're not exactly what we want to sound like yet, but we're on our way there. Have you had that in years leading up to now?
Shit. Yeah, man. We've done a lot of growing in front of people. We've spent a lot of time on support tours in front of audiences that don't necessarily give a fuck about us, trying to win them over and failing in a lot of cases. And our sound's been just, I don't know, I guess evolving so much in the past several years, especially. It has been uncomfortable a little bit. It's definitely been a lot of growing pains, but we're also pretty good at putting our blinders on and shutting out the outside world a little bit and just focusing on, inward. I'm
32, and I think back to most of my 20s and think, damn, I was in so much pain all that time. And now I've got a flat that I like and a partner that we just, we click, and, not every day is like the best day for work or this podcast or whatever you're doing, and you have peaks and troughs, but to be able to get to a point in life where you're like, okay, yeah, I kind of know what's good for me and what's not, because music is about community and bringing people together and giving people hope, giving people like a friend. Music is a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. To speak to your point about being in your 30s, I mean, that's exactly what my life feels like right now too. It's like I'm finally starting to come into a comfortable place in my own head. And that's very much what the band feels like as well, because we are just kind of like, well, not every song is going to be a smash hit, and we're going to, encounter a lot of, like, we've failed at so many things, but like not everything is so life or death now. Like it's very low pressure, and we're finding a lot of freedom in that and a lot of excitement. Because it doesn't matter anymore. We're just doing this just to be in the moment and to take squeeze every little bit of joy and experience. And I mean, and it's been good for our individual careers too. Like a lot of people will come to me now for like mixing or production or whatever, and I think the same can be said for Nino, just because we're in this this thing that a select few people seem to dig.
Yeah, it is funny. It sounds like a cliche, but it's probably a cliche for a reason, because it's true, right? Is that if there's one person that's affected, that's fucking job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like you said, it's cliche for a reason, and that's why we're here. And we can only we hope to be so lucky that it would have that kind of butterfly effect or whatever, and then one person pays it forward to the next person, whether that's showing them our music or just taking them to a completely different show, and what's good for one of us is good for the rest of us. I think
definitely a full harbor floats all the boats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
with like rock bands, you might, when you start or when the first record comes out, you think, okay, well, if we play that festival, if we play Reading and Leeds or Outbreak or Warped Tour, like once that happens, is there a moment where you're like, shit, we need to get new goals?
I guess so. I mean, well, you mentioned Reading and Leeds. Like that was a moment for me, like, cause it's such a legendary festival in the state that we were in, I think at that point, like we were so fresh, touring as this particular unit. And it was just such a whirlwind that like, I don't think I really got to internalize how special that was. It's weird now looking back. I'm like, holy shit. Like we played Reading and Leeds on our first, it seemed like it could only go downhill from there, which it kind of did for a while. Like the whole world kind of shut down years after that. And like we made a record that like no one really dove into really. And like, you think it's going to be this upward trajectory, but it's not. It's a roller coaster. I've learned to just take those moments and really savor them, as opposed to just keep having higher and higher goals, because it doesn't really work that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's that element of when you try too hard or you're checking your phone all the time, waiting for like the good email, the good news to come through. Mm-hmm. Like that's when it doesn't happen, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That only happens when I'm completely checked out and I don't give a fuck about what's coming. Something comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much, both of you, for being up for doing this. The record sounds rad. I was jamming it last night and it's brilliant. In fact, my older brother, he introduced me to Reading when I was really young and introduced me to all these like ace bands like Caius, but then also like Pennywise and kind of everything in between, And he messaged me a few weeks ago being like, you've got to listen to this band. The guitar tone is so sick. So thanks so much. It's a great record.
No, thank you. And if we're winning over older brothers across the world, like that's what I want.
Hell yeah. I like to end these like asking about stories. It's 101 part-time jobs. When I started a few years ago, it was about like funny stories from part-time jobs and gigs and stuff. Now, it's become a much wider conversation like we've had for the last half hour. But I still like to hear those kind of anecdotes of like work fails, because I feel like this is like a hot spot. This kind of lifestyle is a hot spot for getting in trouble at work. I've always been awful at every job that I've been at, and I've been fired from most jobs I've ever had. I wonder if you've got any, like, I'm putting you on the spot here.
I got paid to walk out because I was so horrible at my job. I was there for 1 hour at this restaurant I tried to work at, and I was so young and clumsy. They're like, here's some money, just good luck. I was like dropping water.
You could make that a habit.
Oh yeah, getting paid out the door. Yeah, that's my day job. Is I go into a job for a day.
What was the strangest job that you've had?
So, are you familiar with Taskrabbit?
Yeah, so it's almost like an app where you can pick up any kind of jobs that people are looking for.
Yeah, it's like the Uber or Lyft of like odd jobs.
Doesn't sound sketchy at all.
No, yeah, nothing sketchy about it. Definitely showing up to a stranger's house and just accepting whatever it is that. Let's see. Through that, I got a bunch of random, like nothing particularly weird, except for, I can't say that. I definitely cleaned out my fair share of like hoarder houses and I don't know, just sorting through stuff after somebody's died.
Wow.
That kind of thing, just as like a emotionless, like unattached drone, just like, like I need somebody to throw all this shit out for me because I can't do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or I need somebody to, clean this house that hasn't been cleaned in over 5 years kind of like it's, some of it was a bit horrifying. I met some really depressed people in the process. I was like basically a janitor for a while in this like apartment building. I just would come and clean the whole place like every week, and yeah, just stuff like that via TaskRabbit.
It's funny. Do you keep a diary, or apart from songwriting, but do you keep a diary of a diary of life stuff going on? I mean, I've just started one 2 years ago on my and I put an entry in there every couple of weeks. But it's really great because you look back on something that happened a year ago that you completely forgot about a very specific detail of something. And it's actually really rewarding.
That is cool. And that's a really good idea. I might have to start doing that because I forget so much. And honestly, I think subconsciously I block a lot of it out.
to keep focused on the next task, on the thing.
Yeah,
next ahead.
But it is good to try to look back on. So I do have to remind myself of how far I've come.
Big time. Yeah, big time. There's nothing wrong with patting yourself on the back or giving yourself a bit of cred every now and then.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take away from it. Of course not.
No, yeah, and conversations like this remind me of much darker times, like weirder times.
I'm so glad to make you feel that way. Cool, nice one. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, man. Take care.
So there was Teenage Wrist here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Their new record, Still Love, is out now. You can catch them on tour in December in the UK and Europe, which we're no longer part of, which is pretty sad. Look, cheers for listening. Loads of episodes all the time coming. See you next Tuesday with an episode with Slaughter Beach Dog. Come see us then. I'm going to leave you with one of these fine rock and roll jingles me and my friend Jay recorded at a great studio in London called Fuzzbrain. That's where Chubby and the Gang recorded. It's where The Chisel recorded. Middleman, if you don't know, you got to know. Island of Love. 4 bands just reeled out there that you should go listen to. Yeah, nice one. Big love to Ben Spence and Fuzzbrain. 101, 101, 101, 101, 101, 101.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.